Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast, the podcast where we have candid conversations with women sharing their career journeys. I'm thrilled, as always, to welcome my next guest, Gillian, founder and CEO of Peachaus. And I've got here a lovely introduction about Gillian, who has over 30 years experience in commercial retailing. She's worked for brands such as Target, Maya in Australia. She was fashion director at Topshop, and now is the founder of Peachaus, which is a lifestyle brand with an ethical essence, conceived as an antidote to the current fashion system and launched in March 2022. So a true change maker, and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm thrilled to be asked to speak out.
Of course. I mean, knowledge is power, and we can only learn as a community of amazing women when we share our stories. So the ups, the downs. So this is really going to be an interesting conversation. I'm always excited because I learn so much. So really looking forward to this chat.
Thank you. Me too.
So let's talk about your early career and journey to Peachaus. So you have, your career, your CV is amazing. It's one of those where we say, how did she do this? How did she get in there? Let's talk about going all the way back. First of all, with so much experience, having worked for so many brands, key department stores, what inspired you to say, right, enough's enough. I'm going to do this for myself?
Well, it's a long story. So those 30 years of experience hold probably the secret to where I've got to now. I always wanted to be in the fashion industry. I think I had my first sewing machine when I was 7, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I believe this was the industry that's kind of put its arms around me because of what I am doing and the impact that I want to have now. And so I did a fashion degree. I worked my way through as a buyer, and I will come on to it in more detail in a bit, but actually what I got to was a point where I realized that the industry was not the industry that I fell in love with when I was that little girl. And I was struggling to align who I am with the industry, which is cruel and destructive, not just to the planet, but to people's lives. I always wanted to be a part of something which was truly creative and was kind and caring, and that wasn't what I was experiencing. It was in 2016, I realized that I could no longer be complicit in something that actually, as I said, it didn't align with who I am as a human being. And rather than walk away with all that experience, I decided that I actually would take responsibility. I'd been part of the damage. I now needed to be part of creating a solution and do it using the experience that I have. And that was through building a responsible clothing brand that actually is here to set a new precedent for being a fashion brand, and to show that fashion can be a force for good. It doesn't have to be a cruel and destructive industry.
It's interesting that you've said that as well, because I remember even growing up, even if you talk about whether it's high street fashion or high-end fashion, there weren't as many collections. We all wore a certain amount of clothing, but I don't vaguely remember having to always want to go shopping and having to replace and having to think about, and it's just become just so, to your point, destructive, and which is probably why we see now companies such as Vinted and Resell, because there's just too much clothing out there, and there's still landfills in third world countries where all these clothes are landing. So having obviously worked in high profile roles with, amazing brands, how did these experiences shape your vision for what your brand and what fashion is, and how you're achieving that through Peachaus?
Yeah. The first thing that I want to say is, just listening to what you've said there, your observations, it's out of control. Working in those environments, particularly at kind of the mass end of the market, and the amount of creation and buying and production and the pace at which the teams were having to work just to keep that generation of newness up was just untenable and unhealthy. The culture of being in those businesses it's just ridiculous pace. There is no time to think, no time to really put the time and the effort and the creativity into creating these beautiful garments. And actually the toll it takes on you personally as well. So it didn't make sense anymore. It hasn't. We've created a monster. And in a part of that monster, you're right, Andola, when I was little, something new was really special. I got a lot of hand-me-downs from my sisters, which probably is why I got so obsessed with having, a career in fashion. But it was something to be cherished. And then things have changed and it's become this out-of-control monster, which is fueled by social media and having to look a certain way and what the representation of beauty is, that actually people have to buy and buy stuff to make them feel better. It's almost like putting an elastoplast on a cut, but the cut is actually the fact that I'm not I'm not connected to myself as a human being.
It was really about you're just making a really valid point, not just the fact that it's out of control from, or the fashion itself, but even the work practices. And, you're working on the collection now, but also the one for next season, but you're planning the one for the season after, and all the SKUs and how can you liquidate the stock. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on and it's it's out of control. And so what inspired me to do this was actually that I wanted to put creativity back into creating products. I wanted to put the value back into that whole value chain, right from the consumer, right the way through to the creation of the product, and then how you bring it to the customer and give her an experience. So rather than at the moment, it's just a transaction. It's almost, as I said, it's like fulfilling a need, an urge, an itch. Actually, for me, it's actually creating things which are works of art. They celebrate design. They celebrate craftsmanship. Fashion was always a beautiful, creative, desirable industry, and wearing lovely clothes was something that actually, they're special. There's a value to them. So that's what I wanted to do. But at the same time, build a supply chain and a value system which is actually kind to the planet, which was highly accredited, because so many of the factories were just mass churning out mass. They didn't have the standards. They certainly didn't put people and their welfare at the heart of everything they were doing. But then, as well as doing the right factories, doing the right fabrics, things which are kind to planet, and creating things in a beautiful way, throwing out the fashion rule book, no seasons, no trends, nothing that perpetuates throwaway, and then building into this education for the customers. There's no education. There's so much greenwashing. There's so much deception. So actually helping people make more informed and better choices for themselves. And then actually, for me, one of the biggest things which I'm on a personal level, we live in a very uncomfortable world at the moment, and whether it's politically, environmentally, socially, where do you turn? Who's telling the truth? Actually, and as human beings, we've just lost connection to ourselves and each other. So for me, it's around building out a community and human connection, and actually through beautiful clothes, and building out beautiful experiences, bra fitting being one of them, we can actually find a way to demonstrate that we are humans, and care and love and respect are really important in this whole value chain. So yeah, this is what I'm here. I'm here on a mission to ignite the power of you, raise the vibration, and help drive the change in our world.
3 years in March, isn't it? Since you launched the brand, what have been some of the learnings? So obviously you're coming in with that whole skill set that you amassed in the 30 years. What do you think have been the highlights of the 3 years from a leadership and just growing the brand, but also from building your community and storytelling and your team?
Yeah. Well, I feel incredibly privileged that I actually am in this position, that I've set up this brand, and it has totally changed my life. It's changed me as a person. So 4 years ago, was stressed, burnt out, anxious, lacking in self-worth, a fraction of the person I am now. So in the 4 years, it's a healing space, Peachaus. I've been able to recover myself, find myself, step into the human being that I was born to be. But because of our society and the way that things are, I'd lost that. So actually, it's a huge sense of self-discovery, which I'm I'm really proud to say I really like who I am and I really like what I'm doing. And I want to help other people get to this space where I am now. It's been 3 years of testing and learning. So we just said, let's go, literally the fun starts as soon as you turn the website on and you see what's selling. And it's not instant, the hard work starts there. No one knows who you are. No one knows a Peachaus. So we've had to get the product into customers' hands, and wherever we can. We've had, we ran out of money straight away, so we've had to hustle so hard. I have investors, which is great, and I've had more investment, but that cash flow is really, really tough and keeping things going. We've had some amazing events, experiences. We've collaborated with other brands. We had a shop in Covent Garden for 6 months where we did amazing bra fits and events and cacao ceremonies and cocktail parties. And we've learned, actually, and we've been able to work out really why we're here and what our point of difference is and how we can win. It isn't easy launching a brand, but actually determination, resilience, absolute focus. We have to do this because I have to impact people's lives. That's what's driven me and kept me going. So yeah, I feel in my heart this year right now that we're going to take off. I can just feel that actually I wasn't meant to. I had to learn all these valuable lessons to get to the point where I can actually, one, I'm strong enough, but two, I'm really clear about what the channels are and where the brand's going to appear and how we're going to go to where women are and help them through bra fitting.
It feels like the past 3 years have been about you just laying the foundation, isn't it, for Peachaus and who the brand is. And just for the audience who might not know who Peachaus is, do you want to just describe who you are and, what you're selling, what the proposition is, are you direct to consumer, et cetera, et cetera?
Peachaus is an ethical underwear and clothing brand. So we say our products are like, they can be worn from bed to beach to bar. They're made in beautiful, the underwear is really light and comfortable and super soft. And it feels like you're wearing air all out of a recycled Italian laces. And then our sleepwear is gorgeous. As many people wear the shirts for kind of with their jeans as they do to kind of wear it as a night shirt or even a beach cover up. So they're very fluid and flexible. And it's about a free-spirited lifestyle where no one's dictating to you how you should live or what you should wear or how you should wear it. It's actually, you create your own individual feeling and look, and it is based on how you feel. The word Peachaus, so I originally came up with the very first concept when I lived in Australia because I was knowing that I wanted to change my life. I started to plant seeds to change my life. And I thought if I create where I see myself going, then I will shift the energy to start moving that direction. So we're going to call it Peachaus. Cool Australian vibe, hanging out by the beach with surfboards and stuff. And I thought, well, that's not going to travel if we go to cities. So I decided the peach was lovely and tactile and soft and feminine, that we'd call it Peach House. And then I thought, well, house, Haus, it's got Australia at the end, Oz, it's got house, community, peach, peace. Within peach is each of us, and then us at the end as individuals and as a collective. So I see Peachaus as a vehicle to spread peace and the energy of peace. And that's what I have found, peace and calm in myself. And that's what I want to help others find as well.
I love that. Just there was a lot of thought put into, isn't it? A brand name is, they say it's the first baby, isn't it? That you're having to think about what that represents. How does that tie in with so connecting with consumers and your Peachaus tribe? Because we do know that today's consumers, thankfully, are more conscious about where their clothes are coming from and how they're made. But you've told the brand story about that feeling that it's evoking when you are wearing the underwear. How are you connecting with consumers and how's that been in that journey?
Well, so I think a really important part for us has been doing our bra fits. I find, I never wanted to just be a digital brand because for me, that human connection is all about the discussion, the conversation, the storytelling, the sharing of that energy of care. So having bra fit events, whether it's been in yoga studios or at corporate offices or in our beautiful shop in Covent Garden, which we had for 6 months, that for me is the perfect time to be able to tell the story, find that moment of that real spark of where you connect with someone. And we do that through the bra fits. And what I've found and what I've learned in all the countless bra fits that I've done is, one, women aren't prioritizing themselves. The industry's let women down. The industry hasn't explained to women that a really good fitting bra is vital for your own comfort and confidence. And so I find most women are in the wrong bra size when I fit them. And then there's a shame that I get, which is really sad, even though it's not their fault, that there's an apology about how I look. I put weight on. I'm in my menopause. And I hate I'm sorry about my underwear. And it's just, then I realized that actually, as we've tried to find our female identity, and part of that is we feel that we could be everything to everyone, we haven't been kind to ourselves, and we've given up of ourselves. And actually, I found this myself 4 years ago. I didn't want to fail. I wanted to be the perfect female. I wanted to be good at everything. And so who did I compromise when I needed to? It was always myself. And actually, what I've learned over the last 4 years is actually I'm the most important person in my world, because if I'm not strong and I'm not topped up, then I can't give. And I was always giving on empty. And this is what I found. A lot of women, I've seen, and this is really quite a common thing, I've seen running on empty, and that leads to vulnerability, lack of confidence, lack of self-worth, and actually even resentment. So this is my mission. This is my mission through bra fitting.
Do you know what?
Women.
You've really summarized. I think because if you see statistically, or what we see in the fashion and beauty industry, it's all external, and we're now going back to actually internal. And when we say internal, your undergarments and your personality, all of it ties in. So if we can make sure we uplift that first, then what radiance externally will be even magnified. So it's going back, isn't it? Pulling back those layers of that onion, so to say.
Yeah, it is. And it's fascinating. We launched a campaign last March called Naked Talks, and it's a beautiful film created by a company called Dude. And it was acknowledging that our worlds is uncomfortable. It was about 4 women doing something which is an incredibly uncomfortable thing to do, which is public speaking. And we saw their journey from the behind the scenes. Am I going to be good enough? There's a comedian. Am I going to forget my line? Am I going to make a fool of myself? That voice in your head that puts you down all the time. And then coming out on stage one by one, doing their performance. They say, imagine your audience is naked. There wasn't. There was 40 women all in Peachaus underwear. And it was a really wonderful symbolization of female support and courage and finding your comfort zone. And we decided that in our testing, we wanted to go to a festival this last summer. So we took Naked Talks to the Verve Festival in Wiltshire. And what we did, we held cacao ceremonies, which actually it opens up your heart center, and it basically, so you speak up. So strip down, speak up. And it was wonderful. We were doing kind of cacao ceremonies, bra fitting, and all this beautiful female connection. And we got some really amazing women, amazing footage. It was a very special time, and I didn't think anyone would want to have a bra fit at a cacao at a ceremony, at a festival. But actually, we had women queuing up, absolutely queuing up. There was such a willing audience, and they wanted to have that beautiful connection time. So I'm going to build on that this year, actually.
It's definitely a good idea to have those offline events where you're connecting with the customer, the consumer, that word of mouth, finding out what the customers think about your product and so on. You, with your experience, obviously you've done this before in terms of working with other brands and businesses. Now, on one hand, you've also said that you've taken on investment. What was that decision point where you said, actually, right, I'm bootstrapped, we're growing the brand, we have great product, we have great community, but actually we now need investment? What was that decision point? Because I know there's some entrepreneurs who are oohing and eyeing whether that's the right thing for them.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I have a lot of conversations with people who are like, I'm not sure. And I think a lot of the doubt is because of preconceived ideas. I always was going to get investment because I need to have major impact. So actually I need people on board to, one, open doors for me, and two, help me scale fast now that we built the foundation. So I actually took investment in before I even launched the brand. So got me from my Topshop job into then the year of getting the brand ready. And then that investor actually reinvested because he was really happy with what we were doing. I have now got a handful of investors, and I'm now out on another round of investment. For me, I'm not here to have a mansion. Who needs that? That's ego stuff. That's what my old self, my old world would have wanted. For me now, I've got fantastic mentors teaching me, supporting me, helping me, opening doors. And actually, they are some of the most valuable people in my life. And I feel, because they're on board, I actually feel more solid and more confident. So I would say to anyone, it's finding the right investor. It's really important. I've been really, really lucky. I'm now looking out for the next lot of investors, and they're people who are ambassadors. They're in it because they want to have an impact and do something good. What I'm not going to do is sell my soul, sell out, go to a company that's all about the financial return. This is about real, lasting human change.
Love it. And you've really talked about how important it is to make an impact, not just from an ethical essence, but from that social responsibility element. How have you brought on those core ethics and values into building your team? So what have you looked for in these past 3 years in terms of, this is what my team and my tribe is going to look like?
Your questions are so bang on, because that was one of the things I really wanted to make sure, that we had a really beautiful culture. So I wanted to make sure that what was important to me when I was in my corporate career, which I maybe didn't experience, I wanted to make sure we captured a culture. So I believe everybody is an individual. Everybody has their own diamond. And what I've experienced from that corporate culture is that we're all tried to be like cloned down this way of acting, being, performing. And actually, I always felt like I was I think I'm a free spirit, and I never realized it. It's like my wings were clipped all along, and I didn't know who I was meant to be and how I was meant to behave. And then you become awkward, then you question yourself. So I wanted to make sure that I wanted everybody's diamond to shine. I wanted them to feel they were allowed to flourish as themselves. And so we started off with a behaviors code, actually, as to how we've had to help facilitate a session on this, about what was important and how we were going to be with each other. And that's really carried us through. I think everybody who's come into Peachaus has had their own healing, and healing from scars, from whether they're their own personal scars or whether they're things from work, bad experiences from their growing up years in work. And so we are undoing all of that. And it's really, my goodness, it's one of the most rewarding things for me to see people blossom and flourish and come out of themselves and heal. It's been amazing. And so in terms of people find Peachaus. The right people find the brand, and the brand then puts its arms around them. And because if I have to walk the walk and talk the talk. So every day I say to myself, are we setting a new precedent here with what we're doing? And that's always the litmus test.
You've been able to rewrite the playbook, isn't it, of what you want your workspace and team to look like, which it's such a privilege, isn't it? But also, they say with great, comes great responsibility. It's amazing, but you're able actually to see it. And that whole thing of it coming back to you, which comes onto not just community, but networking. How important has that been for you? Because they say your network is your net worth, but they say it, but how have you gone along, building that to support yourself as an entrepreneur and a leader, but also your brand?
I literally I don't know why, I've just got goose pimples have gone all the way down my back and arms when you said that. I have met so many incredible people, organizations the last 4 years, particularly, I'm on steroids now the last year and a half even. And I've got access now to all of the people and the resources and the support really that I need. I've met people who are innovating in the sustainable space, people who are doing beautiful brands, which are all about, the human side of things. It's given me so much hope. So the network is absolutely vital. One, because there's so many other great people doing great things that actually we can all connect together, we can amplify it, and we can create the change on a bigger scale by being like joined up. We can all win, and which is a very feminine energy way of operating. I've met amazing women through the Buy Women Built community, and there's some amazing brands and the network as well in terms of supporting the brand. For me, the whole collaboration is very much how we're going to amplify and grow, sharing our communities with other people's communities. Yeah, it's all about the network.
It's a big one, isn't it? We're seeing, interestingly enough, larger businesses who are probably struggling with identity. I mean, I think about North Face that had to do a collaboration with Skims, or Nike now doing a collaboration with Skims. They're now actually implementing a lot of what smaller businesses are already doing and already know, that actually you have to build your community, have a point of difference, and then align with brands or people that actually drive that so that you can amplify the voice of what you're trying to do. Now, your business and the whole thing about sustainability and the ethical blueprint and the legacy that you're leaving is so important because, like I said, overconsumption is a thing. So the point I'm trying to make is, because I'm always fascinated when people have an idea and start a brand on build on it. You've sort of laid the foundation, 3 years in, got investment, building that community, having women with their confidence. What is sort of in your mind's eye, sort of like the next vision? So what the next 3 years, have you planned that out, or is it just a work in progress?
I know we've been doing a lot of work on that the last 6 months, because we got to the end of the summer and I was exhausted. And I think I got to the
way
point,
though, right?
in a great way, but actually I realized that I can't run myself ragged. I read a great book actually called The E-Myth, which talks about one of the biggest failures of founders is they work in the business, not on the business, and then they lose the vision. And so this book was incredible, actually. And it also talked about, imagine your business as a franchise. You innovate, you quantify, and then you operationalize. So think about McDonald's, it's a machine, and it's consistent all the way around the world. So those were some real nuggets for me. And I was like, so we spent the last few months really looking at every single innovation we've done. What have we learned from it? Is it worth us operationalizing it? So that's been incredibly insightful, down to everything like what's been our best Instagram posts? What were we wearing in store when we had our best days in store? When I was there bra fitting, what was it about the magic that I was doing that drove the conversions? Okay, all of this, then we need to operationalize. We've been testing lots of different channels. So yes, we've got a great website. How do we do bra fittings online? So this is where we're testing the Katie Weir. How can we use AI technologies to really improve that whole offline, online experience so that they're seamless? And then you said it, for big businesses it's going to be tough, trying to shift a big legacy, cumbersome business is hard, whereas we're nimble. We can pivot like that. And I'm pivoting. Literally, I've been doing my next investor deck. And since I started it 6 weeks ago, I've already pivoted. I'm redoing my numbers today because it's changing so quickly. And my insights from all our testing, it's all crystallizing. So I am mapping out the next 3 years. I do now know how we can grow, how we can meet more women, create great connection, and globally what I'm trying to do. Yeah. I'm not going to say too much because we are disruptive and I want to revolutionize the underwear industry. It doesn't put women first. It doesn't put the breast first. It puts the bra first. And the dialogue is a shaming dialogue. It's, 80% of women in the wrong bra size. Well, whose fault's that? It's the brands and the manufacturer's fault because there's no education. There's no support. So yeah, everything I'm going to do is to turn it upside down.
I love it. And the whole thing about being agile and constantly being on the pulse is really key, because you can also get consumed, isn't it? Just in your little box there, in your little project that you're doing, but you have to then, because you are putting women first in everything that you do, from everything that you've said, I think that's such a great space to be in as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny actually, because I think I've seen how the dots from all the last 4 years are connecting. if you look at all the people you've met and you don't know why you've met them at that point, and everything that starts to connect. And I had a call yesterday. So this is just how quick things are moving, with a wonderful woman called Barbara Burton, who I met probably 2 or 3 years ago. Barbara has been really trying to support women, underserved women who have been unlucky enough to be convicted, mainly through circumstance and unlucky. And so she's building a social enterprise at the moment. But I was like, part of one of my initiatives, I'm going to need to employ a lot of women quite quickly. And I suddenly thought, Barbara, this is it, how I can help women who actually have had an unlucky start. And actually, again, it's walking the walk and talking the talk. It's like, now I'm probably going to be in the next year recruiting 100 women. And it's like, right, this is where I'm going to go. There's some communities of people who really need some support and a chance.
I mean, Timpson's, that's the Timpson model, isn't it?
It is.
And it's been brilliant. I mean, how many times you walk into there and you're getting your car battery changed or your shoes fixed, and you just have these conversations, and everyone just wants to be seen and heard, isn't it? And respected as humans, no matter what your past was, or everyone just wants to be seen, heard, valued, respected. And what a great way to give back as well, paying it forward.
It is. And that comes back to what we said. We're human beings. We're all born into different things, but actually if we all accepted each other, saw each other as that individual for who we are, and looked at from a lens from your heart with care and love, rather than the head and judgment and fear, and we'd have a very different vibration and world.
Hindsight is always an interesting thing. So you've gone through various careers, and now you are a founder of a business that's scaling and got big plans. What have you found are your strengths that you're harnessing, and then your weaknesses where actually I've accepted I'm not going to be really great at that, and that's what I'm going to delegate? Because a lot of the time I think as women, it's good to have that self-awareness, to accept the things that you're really good at, and then find the people who can do the other things, as long as you have a broad understanding of that theme, etc. But finding great people to, build that skill set.
I am my happiest when I am at the front of the brand, and like when I was in the shop in Covent Garden, and I was in my pajamas with my bra straps showing, my dress in Peachaus, in my everyday beautiful environment that I'd created, and talking to women in bra fitting, for me, was in my element at the festival. I absolutely love it, where I can talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and seeing people's faces when they have an amazing bra fit and they put one of our bras on. So, I love being the show person. But I didn't realize it. I was always a bit shy before that. So I've really stepped into myself, and I would say I'm creative. I have great insight in terms of where things are going, and drive and resilience and powerful. What I don't like detail. For me, if I'm a good all rounder. But I suppose my boredom threshold kicks in if I've got to go down to too much detail, and I like someone else to maybe take a bit more of that away from me. But I'm the power, I guess.
Creatives is a strength in itself, because you are always looking to see, well, what's actually outside? Why can't we do it this way? You're always having a different vision as to what's right in front of you, which means you can always move forward. You're always then pivoting if you need to as well.
Yeah. We've been very, very nimble, and we're not afraid to change. In fact, we welcome that.
Well, you are a change maker. So I always love to end the podcast where we ask the change makers or the trailblazers, what are 3 tips that they would leave? So, you are all about impacting the fashion or any industry, but what advice would you give to support based on your journey and experiences?
I would say, listen to your intuition. What in your quietest times is your body saying to you, and follow that. Follow your passion, follow your dreams, live one life where you are living it as yourself. Second thing, I would say if you want to set up a business, you have to be ready and prepared to work hard and stick at it. You have to go through the fear barrier. I went through the fear barrier. I felt like in January, there's, no money in the company. You've got people like owed money and you're like, going, what do I do? Do I keep going? Do I quit now? Whereas actually, and you go way beyond where you felt you were comfortable to do, but it's almost like if you don't go further, you don't know how far you can go. And I literally thought I was doing a land speed record and and the car was going to go through the speed barrier. I didn't know whether it was going to break up and burn out. And I just had to keep going. I couldn't stop myself. And it was literally weird. I had all these things happen that week and I handled them all in a totally different, calm way from how I would have done. And it was like a test. So everything was building up to this moment. And then I was like, all right, I got to just keep going. And I felt like I passed the test. And I felt like, it was a massive breakthrough. And since then, I don't feel any fear. I just know I'm on the right path, even though there's still no money in the company. I'm still having to keep all our debts. And then the third thing I would say is get to know yourself, for who you really are, and do that by being kind to yourself and doing things which give you joy.
I love that. Gillian, it's been such a pleasure learning about your journey and the incredible work you're doing with Peachaus. You have passed on so many gems, which, I will then also have to embody and think, wow, there's something there, and for the audiences as well. But before we wrap up, can you tell the listeners how they can learn more about Peachaus and where they can find you?
Everyone is incredibly welcome. I would love for you to be part of our community and to be sharing this energy. You can find us on our Instagram at peachhouse_life. And remember, it's house, Haus. And our website is www.peachhouse.com. And on LinkedIn, you can find me if you're interested, or Peachaus on LinkedIn. And I am Gillian Ridley Whittle on LinkedIn. So I'd love any feedback from anyone. I'm always grateful.
Amazing. Well, Gillian, that's it. We've done it. This is the podcast.
Thank you so much.
A great way to start the new season as well. So for our audience, this has been the Trailblazers Experience podcast. You know where to find us. We are on Spotify, we are on YouTube, Apple, and we encourage you to follow, subscribe, like, comment. We only grow, we only learn if we have your input into the community. So with that said, thank you so much and see you next time.
Thank you.